You've started this exact video with the same energy you start everything else with. Excited, hopeful, sure that this time will be different. And in about 11 minutes, you're going to feel something uncomfortable because I'm about to describe a pattern you've lived 100 times and never had a name for. Not laziness, not lack of ambition, something quieter and much harder to catch. A part of your mind that runs on purpose every single time success gets close enough to touch. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why you do it, and more importantly, the 4 things that actually stop it. Stay until the end. The third pattern I'm about to describe is the one nobody admits to, and it's probably the one running your life right now. What the runaway syndrome actually is. Have you noticed that you start 10 things and finish almost none of them? A new notebook, a new course, a business plan scribbled on your phone at 2 o'clock, and a week later, it's sitting in a corner of your life next to the dumbbells you bought to finally get serious. You're not stupid, you're not lazy, but somewhere inside you, there's someone who sabotages every step forward the moment it starts having real consequences. Therapists have different names for this. Avoidant behavior, fear of completion, unfinished business syndrome. I'll just call it what it is. The runaway syndrome. It's not about missing goals. The runaway usually has more goals than anyone else in the room. The problem shows up at a very specific moment. The second a goal becomes real and close, something inside does a full 180 and starts looking for the exit. Here's what makes this so hard to see in yourself. The runaway rarely looks lazy from the outside. He reads the books. He listens to the podcasts. He researches the market, the equipment, the right approach. For weeks, he is armed with information, but the moment he needs to take the one real step, send the resume, book the call, publish the project, an alarm goes off inside him, and suddenly he needs just one more resource before he's ready. And that's the trap. Preparation never ends on its own because the real issue was never a lack of knowledge. The real issue is that as long as you're still preparing, you never have to face a result. And a result is the one thing the runaway is more afraid of than anything else. So if it's not about the result itself, what is he actually afraid of? That's where this gets interesting, where the fear of the finish line comes from. Here's the strange part. As long as a project is unfinished, it stays perfect. A book you haven't finished writing is still potentially brilliant. A business you haven't launched is still potentially the one that makes you rich. A confession you haven't made is still potentially reciprocated. Anything that only exists in your head is protected from criticism, from rejection, from failure. A finished thing is vulnerable. It can be judged. It can be compared to someone else's and come up short. And for someone who has spent years believing he's special, talented, just not fully unlocked yet, that vulnerability is unbearable. Staying unfinished becomes a way to remain potentially brilliant forever without ever risking the discovery that you might just be ordinary. A lot of the time, this traces back to childhood, to being praised for potential instead of effort. He's so gifted, he just doesn't apply himself. Sound familiar? It sounds like a compliment. It isn't. It quietly teaches a child that talent matters more than effort, and that trying hard and still falling short is more shameful than never trying at all. Grown up, that same person will often choose not trying over trying and failing every single time without even noticing he's choosing. Now, this fear doesn't show up the same way in every part of your life. It actually wears 3 very specific masks, and you've probably worn all 3 without realizing it. The 3 masks of the runaway. Mask 1, the starter collector. He is addicted to beginnings. New year, new Monday, new notebook, new app. Every fresh start delivers a real hit of dopamine. The problem starts around week 2 or 3, exactly when the excitement naturally fades and the boring, repetitive part of any real skill begins. That's the exact moment the starter collector abandons the project and finds a new one, because a new beginning gives him that hit again, and the grind gives him nothing but slow, unglamorous progress. Look at his history and you'll find a graveyard of half-finished courses, apps he opened twice, gym memberships he used for 3 weeks in January. Mask 2, the permanent circumstance fixer. Before he can start, everything has to be perfect. The right mood, the right laptop, the right time of day, zero background stress. If even one condition is missing, the start gets pushed. After the move, once things calm down at work, when I have more savings. The uncomfortable truth is that perfect conditions never arrive, and some part of him knows this, which is exactly why the search for perfect conditions works as an infinite delay tactic disguised as responsibility. irresponsible preparation. Mask 3. The secret last-minute saboteur. This one's the most painful because it's the hardest to catch. He carries a project almost to the finish line, and right before the final step, something breaks it. He misses the deadline by hours. He picks a fight with someone right before the big meeting. He forgets to hit send on the finished application. From the outside, it looks like bad luck. But look closer, and the pattern repeats too often to be coincidence. His own mind trips him up on purpose, because crossing the finish line means being judged, and being judged is scarier to him than failing at the starting line ever was. If you recognized yourself in even one of these masks, the runaway does exactly this with his own life. By day, he weaves, starts the plan, launches the project, builds the relationship. By night, quietly, without even admitting it to himself, he unravels it, sabotages it, delays it, loses interest right on schedule. The cloth never finishes. The decision never gets made. And while it's unmade, he gets to remain a man of limitless potential instead of a man with one actual specific criticizable result. This loop feels safe. It isn't. It has a price, and the price gets bigger every year you keep paying it. What this actually costs you. If this cycle doesn't get interrupted, it builds a very particular kind of exhaustion. Not the exhaustion of hard work, but the exhaustion of staying in the exact same spot for years while everyone else moves. You start feeling a quiet irritation toward other people's success because their result is a mirror held up to your own standing still. You start explaining away their wins. He got lucky. He had connections. It wasn't that hard, because admitting their success was earned means admitting your own inaction was a choice, not a fate that happened to you. The second cost is trust. The people around you clock the big talk. No follow-through pattern faster than you think. Eventually, they stop taking your plan seriously. Not out of cruelty, just pattern recognition. And here's the part that stings. Even the day you finally do follow through, you'll have to rebuild that trust first. That takes far longer than the work itself ever would have. So how do you actually break a loop this old? Not with motivation. Motivation is exactly what got you into this cycle in the first place. You need structure. Here are the 4 things that work. 4 ways out of the loop. 1. Let yourself finish badly. Not perfectly, badly. Make yourself a rule. Whatever you start, it gets finished in whatever state it's in, even if it's embarrassing. Send the draft with typos still in it. Publish the project unpolished. Finish the hard conversation even if you stumble through it. This isn't about quality. It's about training a completely atrophied muscle, the muscle of crossing a finish line at all. 2. Make promises to other people, not to yourself. Private promises are easy to break. Nobody's watching. Public commitments work differently. Give a friend a real date. Pay for the course with a non-refundable deposit. Find one person who will actually ask you next week, did you do it? External structure holds the line your willpower can't yet hold alone. 3. Catch the sabotage while it's happening. Most runaways have a signature move, a specific pattern that shows up right before the last-minute collapse. Build the habit of noticing it live. The moment you feel a sudden, inexplicable urge to quit right as something's about to be finished, stop and name it out loud. This isn't a real reason to stop. This is the old fear of the finish line. That single pause is often enough to break the automatic sequence. 4. Celebrate finishing, separately from the outcome. The runaway has trained himself to attach worth only to a brilliant result. Retrain that. Celebrate the act of finishing as its own win, completely separate from how good it turned out. Finished is a victory regardless of the grade. Over time, your brain starts associating the finish line with relief and pride instead of exposure and dread. And that's the shift that actually ends the cycle. There's no magic day when the fear of finishing just disappears on its own. There's only the same choice, made over and over. Finish today's small, imperfect, slightly embarrassing thing anyway. Not because the result is guaranteed to be good, because every single time you cross a finish line, you take a little more power back from the runaway living inside you. If you saw yourself in this video, subscribe if you want more videos like this, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you in the next one.